And you came near and stood in the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire. That's the perspective of God. And to the midst of heaven, with darkness and clouds, and with thick darkness. Okay. This is the evidence, and this evidence is my grace. And by this I will sanctifying you. And the Lord spoke unto you out of the midst of the fire, okay, out of the midst of this sanctification. You heard the voice of the words, this knowledge, okay, for faith. But you saw no similitude. Okay, did you see any tradition birthed from this? Okay, there is no tradition of man in this revelation, because you could not see God. Okay, that's why God remained concealed from your carnal eye, because when you see things with a carnal eye, you affix yourself on the physical for tradition, and your signature flows for tradition. I don't want you to flow towards tradition. Okay, I want you to view me with faith. Okay, now I want you to work with my knowledge. Okay, not that what you see, okay, but that what you hear for faith. Okay, if your tradition is with which you see, okay, then you're carnal-minded. But if your tradition is that which you hear, okay, in this form of holy knowledge, you saw no similitude. Okay, then your faith will build with this, and you'll increase with this. Okay, that's what I was bringing out yesterday. Okay, concerning if you can see it with your eyes, then you're carnal-minded. If you hear it with your ears for faith, then you're spiritually minded. Okay, and so observing the Sabbath, taking a communion, baptizing in water, and tithing and circumcision are all carnal things, because you're bringing God down to a similitude of your own likeness. Okay. Okay. So I concealed myself from you with darkness, clouds, and with thick darkness. But Satan was not in the darkness. I was in that darkness. Okay. The Lord spoke unto you out of the midst of fire for sanctification, separation. You heard the voice of words, but saw no similitude. You saw no tradition of man. Only you heard a voice. So the word similitude there also has to form a tradition of man with. Okay, to form a tradition of man. Okay. Your tradition was not in similitude. Your tradition is to be in the voice. Okay, your tradition is not to be in the similitude. That carries the tradition of man. Your tradition is to be in my voice. Okay, which has to do with the flame of my grace. Okay. Now God declared unto you His covenant in this flame, not the similitude. Okay, so you might want to highlight the word covenant. In flame. Okay, not similitude. Okay, which is tradition of man. All right, when your tradition is in a similitude, you're carnal-minded. If it's in flame, you're spiritually minded. Okay, because it's in the form of the invisible, concealed from the carnal eye. Okay, which He commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. Okay, now these 10 commandments addressed your frailty, okay, to show not your righteousness, okay, but to show as concerning your unrighteousness. Okay, these 10 commandments were now to restrict you, okay, so that you no longer covet after the things of man, but that you'll covet after the things of God. To have no other gods before you. And He wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. That is the proof of this will. The proof of this will be the power of His word in your conscience. Okay, you know that the things that I have spoken unto you, okay, being written in the stone, was to challenge your conscience for faith, okay, but not to build confidence as in regarding of your of carnal things. Okay, not in regard to carnal things. The 10 commandments were given not for righteousness. Okay, were given for the purpose of challenging the conscience. Okay, that you would by this believe on me. Okay, the flame, not the similitude, the flame. Okay, when people use the 10 commandments, okay, as a fulcrum for the moral code, they offend God because they're putting other things before God. They're now putting the similitude of their moral code before Him. And God says, I don't want the similitude of your moral code. I want the flame of your faith. Okay, my commandments were given to challenge you so that to show you your unrighteousness, you would believe in me. Okay, you embrace the flame for purification. Okay. Yeah. The Apostle Paul wrote, okay, that the law was not written for righteous men, but for the unrighteous, for the unholy, for the profane, for the murderers of fathers, murderers of mothers, and for manslayers, for kidnappers. Okay, the law and these commandments are not written for the righteous man, they are written for the unrighteous man. Okay, to challenge the conscience for faith. Okay, now verse 14. So we no longer use these, okay, and we no longer use the Ten Commandments for reciprocation, because they were not for the purpose of reciprocation. The Ten Commandments only address the carnal nature of man. That's why he said in the first commandment, you shall have no other God before me. You're not to make any image of these things, any image of what you saw, and whether it be in heaven above, the sun, the stars, the moons, the earth beneath. You're not to make the images of God of seasons, nor the images of gods for fertility, nor the images of gods for war. Okay, that which you see is not what I am. That's what you don't see what I am. I am the invisible God. I conceal myself from your presence so that you will not make a similitude of these things in your own likeness. The Ten Commandments address the things of your likeness, which offend me. This is why Jesus' faith was smitten, okay, because it bore the image of death and the likeness of man, okay. But by this smiting, I now will sanctify you, okay, so that you can partake of the inheritance even in your flesh, that your flesh now has hope, okay, but not for righteousness, but now has hope. I'm sanctifying it. Okay, and the Lord commanded me, verse 14, at that time to teach you statutes and judgments. Again, he talks about that which is restricted by time, okay, and the judgments has to do with the policies which I set for you. Okay? The judgments which I set for you, okay, addresses those things on a daily basis. Okay, his compassions are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. My judgments are in these things. Every day we see the judgments of God forthcoming. He addresses these things, that you might do them in the land when you go over to possess it. Okay, you're to make no image because you saw no image. Okay, the nations make images of me, okay, in their similitudes. Okay, and they do these things to flatter their conscience. Okay, so they make the similitudes to flatter their conscience. If they could see it, then they're able to control it. They're able to take ownership of it. They're able to you could say, simulate and to flatter themselves by association. I don't want you to associate with physical. I want you to associate with the invisible, because that will deliver you. Satan works with the physical things. I work with the spiritual things. Okay? It was through physical things that Adam fell. It's through spiritual things that he was born again. When Jesus breathed on his apostles, okay, they did not see any physical thing, and that's what he says. You are now a new people, a royal nation, a holy people. Okay, you're a new people by my Spirit. By my Spirit you shall live. Okay, not by my physical presence you shall live, but by my Spirit you shall live. When people try to live by my physical presence, they're bringing me down to the level of their similitude, okay, so that they could associate with my suffering, okay, but not with my record. They want to associate with my power, but not with my record. Okay. They want to pour themselves into these things for the flattery of the moral code, okay, which is an abomination to me. All right. So verse 15: Take you therefore good heed unto yourselves. Examine yourself in the light of this contrast. What did you see? You saw nothing. What did you hear? My righteousness is what you heard. Okay, not your righteousness. You heard my righteousness. So therefore, reflect that in faith. Okay, for you saw no manner of similitude. There he says it again. Okay, keep my covenant, verse 13. You saw no similitude on the day that the Lord spoke unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Okay, it's the fire that sanctifies, and it's the voice that you live by. The carnal-minded can refute this moment of power, but the conscience carries this law and is seen in their struggles of frailty, trying to escape its power. Okay, lest you corrupt yourselves, bringing these things into a symbol of your own similitude. Okay, and you make graven images, the similitude of any figure, the moral code, the likeness of male or female, like Diana or Zeus or Ra. Okay, the likeness of any beast, okay, that is on the earth, okay, to associate for your power. Man associates with power, a lion, a bear, an eagle. Okay, man associates with power. This is the similitude of his own conscience, which is defiled. Okay, but you saw no similitude. Okay, faith is to be your conscience. By this clarity, you have rest. Okay, you're no longer struggling in your moral code for rest now. You're no longer looking for closure through conflict. People look for closure through conflict. Okay, that's why they confront their offender. They're looking for closure for conscience. Okay, but if they walk by faith, now they have rest. There's no longer offense. Okay, because they are conforming to God. Okay, the likeness of any beast that is on earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Okay, you can see the similitudes of the God code in all these things, but I'm giving you the covenant to see me with. Lest you lift up your eyes to heaven and see the stars, and when you see and observe, okay, the bodies of heaven, okay, you'll be inclined to worship them because you see a likeness. Okay, you see the God code in them. I don't want you to worship the God code. I want you to worship me in covenant. When man worships the God code, he brings me down to the similitude. Right? Unless you lift up your eyes to heaven, and when you see the sun, see the equity and this uniqueness and the vastness of the universe and the purity of these powers. Okay, the sun, the moon, the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, then they should be driven. Satan will use the God code in you to associate with these physical things, and you begin to worship them. While you begin to synchronize your life to nature rather than to faith. When you synchronize yourself to the seasons and the nature, okay, then you create a philosophy with it, okay, which the fallen watchers also created in the minds of the people before I cleansed the earth with the flood. Okay, and you begin to serve them. Okay, it begins to arouse you to its mystery, and you want to set equity in your understanding, and you want to set order, and you want to control these things, which the Lord your God has divided into all nations of the whole heaven. Okay, to behold my power and to admire my uniqueness, okay, but not for your aspirations. Verse 20.